So I'm delighted this morning to be with Andy Bargery, Director of Coronet Group.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi, thanks for joining me. Look, I've seen quite a bit of you recently at the summit and now in February as well. I'm going to catch up with you at my Central London Evening Property Network, and really
That's
am
right.
delighted. Look, I'm slightly biased because I know you were at MIPIM last year or the year before now, and you've got experience of being at MIPIM on a large-scale network environment.
Yeah.
I think there's about 20,000, 30,000 people there. Now, your presentation's not solely about MIPIM, it's about how to make networking effective on whatever scale.
Yes. Yeah, exactly that. And you're right. I was at MIPIM last year, and I think it's about 20,000 people that go there. And thankfully, I didn't talk to them all, but I certainly did my best to talk to the ones that were relevant to what I was trying to achieve whilst I was out at MIPIM. And as you know, I've organised a lot of networking events over the years and been to a lot, particularly quite a few of yours, Brendan. So in that time, I've got some ideas for what makes effective networking. And that's what you've asked me to talk about at the Central London Property Meet. So that's what I'll be covering.
Sure. So, look, some takeaways. What people get from you, Andy, even if they can make or can't make MIPIM, how does networking differ on different types of scale? Is MIPIM more about preparation than, for example, your local meet, or
So, you
preparation?
know, I think there's two different ways to look at it. You know, if you're going to a one-off event like MIPIM, then preparation is key. Who are you trying to meet when you get there? What do you want to get as a result of those conversations? And how can you facilitate that so that it's not by chance when you're there? You know, how can you set up meetings? But with MIPIM as well is making sure that you've got time for those ad hoc, off-the-cuff chances to meet somebody in a bar or to have a coffee or whatever that might look like. The other thing is if you're going regularly to a meetup, like people that attend your meetups, Brendan, it's a different style of networking. It's about building relationships, and it's about helping others to further their progress. And by adding that value, you build a stronger relationship, and that enables people to recommend you on for other projects and opportunities. So slightly different way to approach both of those, but I think in essence, preparation is key for good networking. If you've done your homework, you know who you want to reach, and you know how to start those conversations, then you're going to find networking is a valuable tool for you.
So, Andy, in terms of your background, just to give the listeners a bit of a flavour, you've come from a marketing PR background. Your brother is an architect.
That's right.
You're working with him as director of Coronet Group.
That's right.
Do you want to just explain your property background and what made you shift from PR and marketing more to the property side?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've run a marketing consultancy for 12 years, and in that time I've worked with a number of property developers, helping them to package and market their developments. I've worked with professional service providers in that space, so architects, interior designers, law firms, for example. And I've always loved property, and seeing the opportunity to partner with my brother to actually invest in and create our own property portfolio just seemed like an obvious extension as to what I was already doing for clients in that space. And so far, it's been a really exciting journey we've taken.
Sure. And is there one key question I should be asking you before we summarize this short video? How can people connect with you, apart from coming to my meet on the 22nd of February?
Well, that's obviously the best place to find me is at Brendan's meetup on the 22nd of February, isn't it? Or 21st? 22nd. Otherwise, I'm easily found on online, either Twitter or LinkedIn, or you can find us at Coronet Group. Normally, if people search for me, Andy Bargery, they'll either find me or they'll find a racing driver. I'm not the racing driver, so look for the other guy, and that's me.
However, Andy, if people want to accelerate their journey in networking, you are the guy. And if they want to accelerate their journey in terms of PR and social media, effective brand management as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to talk to anybody that's developing and wants some assistance with telling that story. Then we can help with that. Absolutely.
Just expand on that. Telling the story. What do you mean by that, Andy?
Well, what you want to do when you're putting together a development is to make sure that there's enough things that are attracting people to buy those properties so you can charge a premium. And that's what branding's all about, really, is enabling people to associate things with your brand so they'll pay a higher price. So what are the characteristics that are important for your product and your brand that you need to tell through your brand messaging? What are the stories that you need to tell so that people can say, oh, I've seen this development in, I don't know, Croydon or wherever it is. I can see it's great. I can see all the news around it. If we're looking at Croydon, look at what the Inspired Asset Management team are doing, and they're really good at this as well. And they spend time and money on branding their development. So it's a product.
Okay, just to break down or to go into a little bit more detail, what are they good at doing? Is it literally telling the story, or is there a little bit more to it?
Well, they tell a good story around the product attributes. What is it that people are getting? And they tell a good story around how they are almost changing the model and creating products that are affordable, for example. But they have those extra amenities like the rooftop terraces and the Brompton fold-away bikes. Things like that have stuck out in my mind because that's what they tell, that's their story. And I think that there are other things. Look at other developers that are doing branding really, really well and try to identify what are the themes, what are the stories they tell through their brand communications. And why does that make you want to look at that property more? Is there a story about the area that they're in? Is there a story about the history of the building and what that means for how they've developed it? And all these things add up to communication.
I want you to slow down, Andy, but
Oh, sorry, Brendan.
no, that's fantastic. I'm just listening to insights here.
Well, you know me,
What,
Brendan. I'd be happy to come and talk at another meetum about branding. I've done some marketing stuff.
sure. Well, one of the things which I'm doing in spring this year is I have a panel event with Ryan and Brad Lazarus, Ryan Carruthers, Brad Lazarus, which is focused on branding,
Yeah.
leverage, and I can actually see more and more the importance of brand now in the 21st century, right this minute, with the likes of crowdfunding as well. So,
Yeah. Do you know, I had a really good chat with Daveen from Simple Equity yesterday about bringing projects onto his platform to raise money through the crowd. And, part of the way that people are effective at raising money through the crowd is telling a good story, not just around the product, but who's the team and what's the financial return. But if you've got a strong story attached to a product or building, then that really, really helps.
no, that's definitely fascinating. Um, Look, Andy, I don't want to take much more of your time up. Just to summarize, in terms of how was the National Development Summit? What was the takeaway for you?
Oh, I really enjoyed it, Brendan. I met some good people. Networking was really key for me there, and that was a big part of why I wanted to be at the National Development Summit. Was who could I meet, who could I help, and who could help me to move my property business further forward. So in that respect, I thought it was really good. And I really enjoyed the panel sessions. There was a session that Alex Harrington Griffin chaired that I enjoyed, that I thought was great. And of course, what's not to like about Sarah's networking presentation, introducing her different speakers, I thought was great as well.
Sure. Andy, I just want to say huge thanks for your time this morning. Huge
Thanks to
thanks to
you.
my listeners as well.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Brendan.
Thank you.
Cheers.